grinders that we have here and what we use. One of my students here is about to get a grinder, picking them out, selecting them. Well, when you're looking at them, you got to check out and see whether or not, what kind of shape they're in, you know, what they look like. And obviously, you always have your safety glasses on when you're dealing with wire wheels, grinders, or anything. Matter of fact, you have your safety glasses on the first second you step in our shop. We have 100% safety glass policy. We have to have your safety glasses on. But if one of these would come off, they can hit you in the eye or hit you in the arm or whatever. You always want to make sure, and I'll be explaining that when we get into the grinding area.
So but, can we grind the table with those?
Well, no. Good. I'm glad you asked that, because these are just for wire wheels. These are just for cleaning welds. We grind the tables with the ones that actually have the grinding wheel on them. So those are for grinding the tables. And these are just for cleaning your flux off or whatever you would have. Now, you brought up a good point about selection. So when I come over here, I'm selecting, am I selecting to clean the weld, grind the table, what am I going to do with it? So that's what we're going to do. Another thing too is you want to look over the hoses as you select one, make sure the person that put it back last time, it wasn't cut or gouged or missing pieces. So it's our responsibility, every student's responsibility to make sure that they check them all over real well. Now, he's going to select a grinding wheel, so just go ahead and select. So on these, you got to make sure that they all look good, they're all in good shape. You know they're all, now this one here is, you can see that the guard is loose. So that one, you bring to your instructor and you say, hey, this guard's loose. How can we fix this guard? And then we'll go over and fix the guard with it. Now, some of the stuff we have over here, and this Allen screw goes in there. Now, this is not dangerous in any way because the air's not even hooked to it right now. Right now, all there is just a hole, so there's nothing here. So right there, and then we get a proper wrench. So when we want to take this grinding wheel off, this part right here will hold the grinder. It's an air grinder, so it just spins all the time. And this other part, you take the wheel off. So as I'm going to hold the grinder with this Allen screw, and then I can just take my wheel out, get my wrench back up, and my wheel just spins off really easy. Because you can see that this is the part that actually holds it from turning, and then you can spin your grinding wheel off. Now, when we get a grinding wheel that looks like that, we should replace it anyways, because if you start seeing all that wear or chipping or any kind of thing like that, that needs to be immediately thrown out. You don't want it. You don't want it. And I'll show you where we have them. Now, in this situation, we have take that off too. So we have wrenches for everything in here. That was wrong. Spin that off. Now you see how this is just a little bitty Allen. Sit down, grab a little. Devontae, you want to go grab a small arm here? But it tightened it up, but it seemed like it was maybe that was a metric one, just a little bit off. But the Allen wrenches are right in here, so he's going to get a couple more. We'll put them in there. But it tightened it up for me anyway. Now, however, I got to put this back on because I don't want my grinding wheel sitting on the bottom. So I make sure that this is back on. Snug that back up. Nice and snug. Now, we'll go over this right here. Is going to go right in here. And look. Oh, there it is. So come on over here on the other side.
There's some wire wheels up. There's some, what's that wire?
Now, I say, obviously, normally we have a whole lot more grinding wheels than...
Yeah, there's some up here, right here, too.
Oh, okay. So, now let's go back over there and we're going to tighten that back up. You know, you just take a little bit of this, basically the air lubricant oil, and all you're going to do is just put a dab in there. And I mean a dab. If you don't put just more than a drop, you get a little more than a drop, you're going to have this stuff.
You're going to have it flying everywhere.
Yeah. This is made for that. So now come on in, booth. So now, yeah, we stood it. Where will we plug this into? So every one of these things have a name on them. Obviously, this one right here is air. So we don't want to turn this on first before we put this in there, otherwise it'll be automatically onto the gun. So we just take this, still a little bit of air residual in there, but not bad. And then go ahead and turn it on, and now it's wheels on. Now, you would like to go ahead and use it, but don't have a face shield or anything on, so we're going to go get a face shield, get things ready, and then we're going to show you some grinding techniques. But before we do that, I want to show you one thing. You always grind on this side of the wheel. This wheel's coming around like this. You grind on that side of the wheel and you throw the sparks on this area. You don't throw the sparks over and up and to somebody else. You make sure you control the sparks real well. You handle it. You got a good grip on it. And then you got a face shield or your welding helmet with a clear lens in it. You know, they make them now for grinding as well. Back at it. I got some metal. I'm going to talk to you for just a second about the helmet, and like I said, you could use a face shield to grind, and a lot of people do, and that's good, just like we were doing with the belt sander and all that. So I can put a face shield on and do my grinding. However, I want to show you using the regular welding helmet, because just like my students, they all have good helmets that, and if they don't, they can use a face shield. But you have a grind mode on there, so you can just slide it over to grind mode, and then you can grind and your helmet's clear. So that's what I'm going to use here. And then when you're doing this grinding, just make sure that you're not spraying grinding all over everywhere. You're in control of where it goes. Remember the safety switch as well. Safety switch like this, and then turn it right on, got a hold of it, and then we're just going to grind. Like that. See, did a real nice job. So another thing, then when we're done, you got to remember when we're done, shut the valve back off, and then you go like this because you want to let off anything on there. You want to let that off because then when you go to unhook this, and put it back away, there's no pressure on it. And then you just go put it back away and make sure that it's and so let's just do that. Let's just follow right over and I'll show you. So we're gonna bring this over, set it right on here. These cords should be kind of like organized, basically. Not so organized today. So we'll have to get to that. Put it right in there, and there you go. Then want to make sure all of these, if you see this, if you happen to come by and see this, make sure that these are all up out of the walking area, so they're nice and safe. These ones here we have plug-ins for, but these ones here. One of the questions with the wear wheel was, like, this wear wheel, how does it match with this? So when you're looking at your wear wheel, right on there it says 1200 or 12,500 RPM. So then this has to be more than this. So when you look at your tool, it says 1200 RPM. So as long as this is more than this one is, you're fine. So then when you put it on, you just, because this is an air tool, spin it on like that. However, that's just not enough. So come on down here, let me just show you real quick. One of the things is you want to lock that in like that, and then make sure that this thing is tight. And you just take your little tool in the back, slide it right in, snug that, take your, away you go. Just want to make sure that you don't have any jacket hanging out or anything like that, or anything that, jewelry or any kind of thing that would get this caught in there and cause it to, or make sure your glove or nothing gets caught in there, you know. And then always make sure you're using it on that side. All right?